Our next speaker, Sue Beets, she's an international manager for SBM, which doesn't mean Sue Beets Management, but it's a major custodial service company that's worldwide. And she comes in and sets up the recycling programs for all these big buildings. She's a member of GBCI and one of the original founders of the Zero Waste, what do we call ourselves? Zero Waste Business Council.
Yeah.
And we created a checklist for certification and then ultimately merged with a bigger group to have it done. Sue Beets.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Changing direction, we're going to talk a little bit about zero waste, but I really like to focus on reduction. You know, we go through all those efforts to change what we do, and if we can't track it and help support our documentation for diversion, what does that really help us? And I can say, and even with Rick's support, my gosh, it's been probably 15, even 20 years now that Toyota went and started a process with reduce some, reduce more, and then reduce less. And so it was how do you document all of those accomplishments that you do? And so one of those is looking at zero waste. And True, through the United States Green Building Council, really has a great process. We did start it out with Rick, Stephanie Barger, Gary Liss, and I, to be able to quantify what and where we're trying to go with this. So this is the pyramid about highest and best use. We worked with the International Zero Waste Alliance to create it, and really makes a big impact. But where I wanted to talk about was reduction, and I work with a lot of businesses. And it's very confusing to most businesses that, how do I save money? That's the first and foremost thing you hear from everybody. Well, we're not always able to save that much money. But if we can quantify things and document them so that we're able to add that to what's going on, almost all businesses at this point, which is good, are working on zero waste goals. And so how do we help them with that? And it's looking at durable goods like we had for lunch today, and they're reusing and unfortunately have to wash all those dishes. But part of reduction is how do I quantify? And I actually just got a call this morning from another customer that's like, okay, we got rid of all of those disposables and compostables from COVID, and now we've got durables. How do I quantify that? And so the easiest way is to weigh all of those individual replacement items. So if it's using compostables, I usually, if I pick up something, I have a plate, a fork, a knife, and hopefully a cup. Weigh all of those, and now you've got a weight per food item, per meal. And then you've got to work with the cafeteria teams, if hopefully they can do this to set up a to-go, or for here, and even better, let's not send anything to go and make everything durable. And they can quantify that by how many meals they serve in a month. That is the simplest way. You just multiply one times the other, and now you have a reduction item. Now, one of the other things that we're doing through Zero Waste, through True, is to be able to actually separate reduction out of your reuse and your recycling. And the reason for that is a lot of companies have a goal to reduce their total generated waste, and if we're adding in reduction, not really reducing it, we're going the opposite way. So there's a way to formulate that. The other thing you want to try and do, if possible, is try and show the savings that exists with this. Now, I'm no longer buying all those disposables. I'm no longer paying to have those disposables removed. And so my ultimate goal out of that is to try and show that business that there's a better bottom line if we do this the right way. Now, in some instances, they get that, but they need that backup to their management teams to be able to quantify things. I like to include that avoided disposal cost. It's a really important number that helps with that guidance to that direction. So with that, that's your documentation on how I'm going to reduce things. But the other thing that I like to look at when I walk around is break areas. You know, it's unfortunate that the COVID did happen and then we went the complete opposite way. And now we're trying to slowly work our way back to going to no disposables. And that even includes a coffee creamer, right? We've got all the little ones, or they can give you a jug of milk, but all of the creamers have to be individual packets. Now, the key to this, if you're going to switch over to the bulk items, and it's interesting that even hotels did a great job with the bulk items and went back to the disposables and haven't switched over that I've seen. But the key to this with the bulk items is making sure that the janitors or whoever's switching them over knows to keep the pump. The pump's intended to be reused. The other thing that's really quite cool is this Perfect Servery is the name of the company, and they've moved all of their sugar products into just a push a button, and it comes in a bulk bag. So I'm eliminating all those little sugar packets that typically end up in the trash stream. Other ways that we look at diverting through zero waste. Now, one of the things that, and I'm assuming some of you guys are walking any of the businesses that are around, try and give them ideas and suggestions on how they can do a better job. One of those really, though, is almost opening dock doors. So one of the things that we learned through a walk through a technical company was they were like, we are generating these, but we don't know where they're going. Okay, so as we walked around, we found that when we rolled the door up, giant rolls of paper were in a truck. Okay, but that's not part of our recycling program. How are they getting into the truck, and where's the truck going? We found out the business unit owners of that one section of the building was actually selling the paper. Now, nothing wrong with selling the paper. It's fabulous. But we're not getting any of that weight that is part of the process. And so you've got to really learn to walk around the process and the programs that exist and ask questions. One of the things that we're seeing really well done is the laundering of gowns and bunny suits. Well, they should be capturing that then. And then on top of that, can we get them to buy them in bulk so that they're in a big bag instead of individual bags? And we're trying to constantly teach through procurement how we're buying things, why we're buying them a certain way. So it's looking at that different lines of generation and points that happen. In addition, I just mentioned the finding of reuse is those gowning items. In some instances, as we walked around, we found that they were cleaning trays, and it's in a manufacturing facility. And we're like, you're physically cleaning the trays. Yes, we don't want to buy new trays. Great, you're already doing the work. Let's document the numbers so that we can take this to that next level and include that as part of that corporate goal. Last one is really in the warehouse and how pallets are being reused. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that really worry about, I'm overcounting, there's too much, the weight of a pallet is very heavy. But if you're actually throwing them away or reusing them in the process, you're able to capture that weight. That is a huge savings, because pallets are getting more and more expensive. We're actually having to buy a harder wood because we have to worry about bugs coming over from the other countries. That it's a very important part of that reuse program. So the last part of this is really looking at TRUE, which is a zero waste certification process, and how do we document and help companies understand that they're doing a lot of the work. How do we take this to the next level? And then lastly, it's that certification part. It's so hard for businesses to say, oh my God, 90%, it's huge. It is true, it is a large number. We want zero waste, period. And so how do we document what they're already doing in the process to show them the steps that they walk through? This company here that we did a case study on, they started and they were like, oh, we're never gonna get there. We got a 5-year plan. We got them there in a year because they were already doing the work. We just had to quantify the process. So I went through that sort of fast because I've seen the morning go and I want to help out. But SBM management, we do janitorial work. That's the start of the process. And then we support our clients with that next level. Thank you.